If folks haven't noticed or heard or saw, I released a recent piece I wrote a piece about Ben Carson for ebony.com. You can check it out, ebony.com/news and views. It's right there. Piece entitled, How Exactly Did Ben Carson's Catapult to the GOP Stardom Happen? And listen, let me be real, and I said this before on the show. So this is nothing new, right, how I feel about Dr. Ben Carson. I think Ben Carson has run, no, it's not I think, I know. Ben Carson has run a really good, he's run a good campaign, right? Like from political playbook, he got to Iowa, he spent a lot of money, considerable amount of money on an ad buy, introducing himself to the people of Iowa and New Hampshire. He then took it a step further, right? And he started to, have a real conversation with them, gripping and grinning, and, that was sort of the basis of Ben Carson. And then, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, mysteriously, he starts this new tune, right? Very Trump-esque. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the vote. Meaning I will say crazy things, I will do crazy things, I will appeal to the silent majority. Right, Richard Nixon's silent majority from the 70s, pale, stale, and male. We know these things to be true already. And he says things. So this week, he says, quote, I think all kindergarten teachers should have guns. Quote, I feel people should have attacked the gunman, and then he maybe wouldn't have killed so many people. Or when he was in New Hampshire a couple weeks ago, he told a story about him and the police. He says, I quote, throwing rocks at cars, I really like that. Sometimes the police would come, always in unmarked cars, and they'd be chasing us across the field. And they would think, they would trap us. Now, that was back in the day, before they would shoot you. I'm kidding. Something funny about state-sanctioned police violence, Dr. Carson. Not even remotely. So basically what happens and what the piece talks about is this idea that Ben Carson, who started out running a really good grassroots campaign, is now riding on a wave that is riddled with xenophobia, racism, basic, bare level, I wouldn't even say like first grade level understanding of the Constitution. And I think even a first grader knows that our Constitution prescribes that there are no religious checks for any office in the United States of America. Even though he says he doesn't believe a Muslim should be president of the United States. Right? This whole thing, right? He's now number 2 in the polls, leading, 1 point behind Donald Trump because he's crazy. Right? He's irrational. Now, I've gotten some blowback from people like, oh, this is a hatchet piece. This is a black man takedown of Ben Carson. No, I won't accept that because I'm just talking about the facts. Nothing in the article is not fact-based. The quotes are actually things that he said. I'm not making this stuff up. Honestly, I got to tell you folks, I wish, based upon this GOP field, that I was making this crap up. But I'm not. The reality is that all of these individuals running for office are doing whatever they can to get into the limelight, including saying some of the darnest things. Who says that all kindergarten teachers should have guns? Who says that? Especially after a massacre that took place in Oregon. Who says these things? To get the NRA to like you? Like, at what point in time does Ben Carson say to himself, I am a neurosurgeon. I am a scientist that understands the basis of, the science, like I guess the science, I don't even know what it's called anymore, but the scientific method. You hypothesize, and you test your hypothesis, and you come up with a conclusion. Right? Like, when all these mass shootings that we've had in this country, I could rattle them off. At some point in time, do you not say to yourself, something is definitely wrong, something is eerily wrong with what we're doing? Not Ben Carson. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say that at all. He continues to peddle this rhetoric that I find to be downright offensive, but I think it's characteristic of the entire GOP field. We'll say the craziest things to get in front of the camera and become the new, flavor of the month. And here's the thing, Ben Carson has enough money he's doing real well grassroots-wise. I told you, I'll give him credit where credit is due. This guy's figured out a way to raise a lot of money. Money, 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 money. And since he's raising a lot of money, America, right, he's really sort of put himself that he could last. He could last a couple months, maybe a couple weeks. But to some extent, you have to ask yourself the question, how was it possible that a guy who made it through the inner city, that benefited from some of the programs that Republicans want to cut each and every day, could say to himself and say to the American people that we should cut these programs. When he benefited from Section 8, and he benefited from WIC, and he benefited from food stamps, and he probably benefited from affirmative action. Now you hate the program? Now you know there's a total different, complete other dimension to you. Now you've automatically woken up one morning, and because you're not running for president of the United States, you think it's okay to change your opinion on this? I don't know about this. Anyway, check out the piece. It's awesome. It's on ebony.com. Thank you so much, Ebony, for allowing me to do it, and you guys should read it.